Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see behind me, we have my 1988 Pontiac Fiero Coupe, and we have some parts in front of me. Today we'll be working on this car. We need to do an oil change, and I've also been having an issue with it since I've been driving it, with oil pressure kind of a little lower than what it used to be. 50-55 psi cold, at idle, warm, maybe 15. It's about 10 pounds lower on both ends than what it used to be. Actually, sometimes on cold start it used to be 70-80 psi. This thing has a couple flow control valves in it. I don't know if one of the seals of the pistons has gone bad or whatnot. So, decided to change out the pump. So I have an oil pump here and a Velcro oil pan gasket. And we have to tear into this thing. Probably should get to it and get this stuff installed. In order to get this on, we have to take the timing belt off. And I have no instructions, so this should be great. But I did do a timing belt on this thing a couple years ago and it wasn't too bad. So yeah, let's get you in. You can see what I'm talking about and we'll go from there. So that'll be great. Ought to be great. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you son of a... So this is the engine. This is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder out of a 1989, I think, Pontiac Sunbird GT. It's overhead cam, driven by the timing belt. The oil pump is on the bottom on this side of the engine, and it is spun off the crankshaft. In order to do it, we have to pull the timing belt. I think we have to pull the crank pulley and all that off. We gotta get the oil pan off. Then we can take the pickup tube off of the pump, and then we can unbolt the pump from the side of the engine and pull it off. Here's what the new pump looks like. You can see it kind of bolts to the side of the engine. So the oil filter goes, where it goes through the crank. So the oil pan bolts on. There's where the pickup tube bolts on. So I guess my first step here is going to be to set the lift on the car. We'll get the car up in the air. Probably got to take that wheel off to get some access to things, and we'll get the oil drained out of it and see how big of a pain in the butt it is going to be to get the oil pan off. Hopefully I can get it off of there without supporting the engine and lowering the subframe and all that. I have thought about just replacing these control valves in the pump. I don't know. Got the whole pump, might as well put the whole pump on. Let's get it up in the air and see what that looks like. Alright, we're underneath here, for lighting and all. Right there you can see is the oil filter. Looks like the oil pan is pretty accessible, and I should be able to get it off of here. Just probably got to take the exhaust out of the way, which might not be too bad. The pump is the side of the engine there. See the side pulley there on the side of the engine. Gotta get the belt loose, get that off, and we can do this thing. Not too bad. Alright guys, I got the wheel off here on the right rear. So we can see up in here a little better. Maybe. That's the crank pulley. There's the oil filter. So my thought here is we can hold the engine from turning over with the flywheel and a pry bar, break that central bolt loose, and then I think I can just take the tension off of the timing chain with the tensioner that's up there, or off the timing belt I should say, with the tensioner that's up there, and then unbolt this stuff and slide it off, and I should hopefully just be able to leave the belt where it's at and then just put it back together. So like I said, I don't have repair manual for this, but when I did the timing belt on this thing, that was kind of how I did it. Wasn't too bad. I didn't hold the engine in place. I believe I put it at cylinder 1 at top dead center, but I can't, it's been a few years, I don't exactly remember. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get the oil drained. I'm gonna get this bolt broken loose, take the tension off of the serpentine belt, get that out of the way, and see if I can get this apart here. so I got the oil drained, got the serpentine belt off, I've got the crank pulley off, and this is the sprocket for the timing belt. The tensioner for the timing belt is right here, so we got to take tension off of that, then we can get the timing belt out of the way. This bolt is loose, and then we can get this sprocket off, and then it's just a matter of oil pan and then unbolting the pump. So let's keep at it. All right guys, there's the side of the engine. Oil pump is off. Somebody had RTV'd that on apparently at some point in time. So we're gonna clean up the mating surface. The new pump came with a new gasket. I've got to swap my adapter for the oil cooler and my oil pressure sensor adapter dealie off of it under the new pump. And then we can put it all back together. It would appear the pickup tube is nice and clear. I was thinking after seeing how much RTV is on everything that maybe that was the problem, but it's not. Oh well. So let me get this mating surface cleaned up and then get the new gasket on it and get the new pump installed, and we'll go from there. Let's do that. Almost forgot, got a huge oil mess. Got some super clean floor absorbent. So we're gonna go ahead and put some of that down to help soak up some of this oil, because we are making a giant mess. Good as new. All right guys, here's the old pump, here's the new pump. You can see this thing was held on with RTV, which I hate. But anyway, I've got to swap my oil pressure sensor off of this pump onto this pump, and then my sandwich plate, that's the adapter for the oil cooler, off of this pump onto the new pump. And then we can put this in the car, and then I'll show you the oil pan gasket. That actually goes on the windage tray, and then we'll get it all back together. Put some oil in it and see if we have more oil pressure. Alright, so here's our windage tray, and here's our new gasket. This new gasket is split, so it goes around the windage tray, and then the windage tray goes up in there, and then the pickup tube goes in there. I've already cleaned that off because it had a bunch of RTV and crap like that on it. when it's supposed to be an O-ring. This is very hard to do one-handed. And then it comes with these, which go into your block, and you can push your stuff up in there. This windage tray, when you get it done, and it holds it in place, and you can put the oil pan in there and they hold them in place, and you can start some of the screws, and then you can take these out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the gasket on this, get these in the block, put some RTV along the seams, like where the oil pump and the block meet, and then at the rear main, there's a couple spots over here where you're gonna put sealant. I got some RTV, that'll work. Then I'm gonna get this all tossed back together. Alright, we're successfully back together. I got the timing belt on it. Obviously the pump, oil pan, all that's on it. I don't have the crank pulley back on it yet, or the serpentine belt back on it, but we're good enough now where we can put some oil in it and we can start it, and hopefully it's in time. If not, it's not a big deal to find top dead center on number 1, then figure out where the cam goes and do that. Hope I don't have to, but probably should have done that to begin with. Don't be lazy like me. Anyway, let's get some oil in this thing. I think I've successfully got the camera covered in oil too, which is great. I'm covered in oil. Everything's covered in oil. So we're using pen grade in this thing. I've been using 20W50 in it. So that's what we're putting in it right now. I have an oil cooler on this car, so I'm gonna put 5 quarts in it. I don't remember what the spec was from the factory. Indy Fiero. But we will start with 5. The good thing is I don't think these are interference motors. Thanks a lot 80s GM for that. Nope. So if I have the timing off, it shouldn't be a big deal. Unless it is an interference engine, then that'll be a little bit bigger of a deal. But we'll cross that bridge. Nope. When we get there. There was a little bit of metal flake in the oil. Nope. I haven't heard any knocking or anything like that. So hopefully damage isn't already done. But I guess if it is, we'll drive this until it gives up. And we'll either try to find another one of these engines to put together, or I'll put an Ecotech in this thing. Apparently there's a similar version of this engine out there that's dual overhead cam. Maybe we'll figure out how to do that. If I were my keys, where would I be? Well, sounds pretty good. Keep in mind the alternator's not hooked up. What, it says we're about 40 PSI, 35, I don't know, you tell me. So, got decent oil pressure. I can tell you, it's out of time. Dang it. So we're gonna have to figure out how to get it in time. Actually shouldn't be too hard to do. I'll just put it at top dead center on number 1, and I believe there's a arrow thingy on the camshaft that I think has to point up if I remember right. But it's got decent oil pressure. I like the fact that it goes above 50 when you rev it. It wouldn't do that before. Well, I guess before it gets too hot, I'm going to pull the spark plug on number 1 and get it up at top dead center, and then see where our camshaft is at. Yay. Forgot to hook up the turbo oil return. So it's leaked out about quart and a half of oil. That's great. I'm gonna go ahead and hook that up. It's hot now. Great job. It's a great job. This probably would have been a lot easier, but it's taking my time. I'm not trying to do this without setting it top dead center and all that stuff. Now I can't even tell you what size the spark plug is. This is great. Having a good time. Got it out. Looks pretty good. You remember what plugs I have in this thing? MSD. Well, alrighty. Now, I'll find something to put down in there to find top dead center. Let me see if I can find top dead center compression stroke here. Socket, this thing. Yeah, off a tooth. All right, so our spark plug back in. We can try it. All right, I think that's good. So let's now go up in the air and we'll hook up our oil return for our turbo, clean up our mess, add some more oil, and then we'll see what it does. Don't worry, we got more super clean and more oil. Can't believe I forgot to hook this up. Right now, all right, we'll try this again. Still can't make it. All right, let's see what we have for oil pressure now. That definitely fixed our running issue. And what I like is it goes up to about 75 psi when I rev it. So I think this pump is definitely working a little better than the old one. So now I just have to put the crank pulley back on, put the serpentine belt back on, tension the alternator. We should be good to go. Maybe we can go for a drive after I clean up. Literally have oil everywhere. Jeez. Oil everywhere. All right, so we're in the car. It's up to operating temperature. We're charging. And we're at about 25 pounds of oil pressure, which is way more than it had before at idle. If I rev it up, we're almost hitting 75 psi, which it would never go over 50 before. So I'm gonna say it's fixed. But we're gonna take it for a little drive, go fill up the gas tank, and see what it's like. The T-tops are out. It's been rainy today. Hopefully it doesn't rain, and hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. And hopefully I can learn how to drive. Well, I don't know about fixed, but it's better than what it was. There could already be damage to the engine. Don't really know. If there is, there is. 45 PSI. It's pretty good. So I just put 8.8 gallons in. We've gone 188, almost 189 miles. So that's 21.3 miles a gallon, which isn't bad for always whooping on it around town. Let's take it back home. Guys, that's how you make a giant oil mess all over yourself, your tools, your shop, your GoPro. Now, actually, that's oil pump on this 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo swap. I'm really happy. It is actually about 15 pounds of pressure higher at idle, and it's actually higher at driving speeds as well. Like when you get up in the higher RPM, it's up 75, 80 PSI, which before it wouldn't even go over 50. So hopefully there's no engine damage and it keeps running for a while. But if not, I guess that's just another project. It's also gonna probably smoke for a little while because there's oil everywhere, even though I cleaned it up pretty good. But anyway, thanks for watching this one, guys. We got plenty of other projects, so stick around and look out for the next video. See you guys later.